Welcome to the archives of Alba-Kar, where every whispered truth echoes in darkness, and every forgotten text holds the key to a revolution. Imagine standing in the center of the Radial district, your neck craning upward to gaze at a vaulted ceiling that stretches miles above your head. It glitters with a soft, pulsing azure luminosity, mimicking the constellations of a universe you have never seen. But these stars do not burn, they breathe. Ever wonder what it truly felt like to question a reality enforced for centuries, with nothing but a forbidden text and a flicker of doubt? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you find the journey we're about to take is a valuable one. And while you're here, let me know in the comments where you are watching from, and which fictional world's lore leaves you speechless. Now, let's descend into the depths and deconstruct the truth of a world built on a lie. The first thing you notice when you enter the civic centers of Alba-Kar is the absence of shadows. The light here doesn't cast harsh lines. It wraps around you, a fluid, ambient glow that emanates from the ghost moss colonies clinging to the basalt architecture. To the uninitiated, this looks like a triumph of aesthetic design, a beautiful way to stave off the crushing gloom of the underworld. You feel a quiet, reverent awe at the visual splendor of it, a sprawling subterranean cathedral illuminated by living tapestries. However, as you spend more time in the glow, the beauty begins to feel calculated. You realize that this bioluminescence is not merely decoration, it is the primary infrastructure of sanity. In a world sealed beneath miles of crust, the darkness is not just an absence of light, it is a physical weight. The founders understood that the human mind cannot survive in the absolute black of the deep earth. It craves a horizon. It craves a sky. So, they built one. But here is the societal paradox that begins to itch at the back of your mind. This sky is entirely dependent on the state. Unlike the sun, which rises for the just and the unjust alike, the ghost moss requires nutrient paste, humidity control, and precise pruning. It requires permission to glow. You watch a maintenance crew from the Verdant Caste hoisting themselves up on pulleys to tend to a patch of dimming moss high above the marketplace. It is a stark reminder that in Alba-Kar, light is not a natural right, it is a manufactured commodity. If the Matriarchy ceases the flow of nutrients, the stars go out. If a district becomes unruly, the sky above them begins to wither. You are witnessing a form of control that is subtler than a prison bar, but far more terrifying. They have not just captured your body in the stone, they have captured your vision.
I think someone was watching us.
The very ability to see your neighbor's face is a privilege granted by the administration, rationed out in lumens and spores, creating a population that is eternally grateful just to be able to see their own hands. As you lower your gaze from the artificial heavens, you encounter the terrestrial anchors of this light, the sacred sun vines. They coil around the obsidian pillars of the law courts, thick as a human thigh, pulsing with a slow, rhythmic amber glow that mimics a heartbeat. You feel a sudden, instinctual warmth radiating from them, a biological hearth in a cold world. But do not reach out to touch one. To do so is to commit a heresy. Punishable by exile to the unlit lower tunnels. Here, you begin to deconstruct the genius of the Matriarchy's theological control. They have taken a biological necessity, photosynthesis, and codified it into the law of shared radiance. The doctrine states that all light belongs to the mother, the planetary core, and is loaned to the people solely through the benevolence of the state. The sun vines are not classified as plants. They are defined as biological sacraments. You watch a citizen approach a vine shrine. She doesn't water it. That is forbidden. Instead, she exhales deeply onto the leaves, offering her carbon dioxide in a ritualized exchange of breath for light. It is a moment of quiet, haunting awe, a perfect, symbiotic prayer, where the worshipper literally gives life to the object of their worship. However, the shadow of this doctrine is long and sharp. Because the light is holy, to possess it privately is a sin. The Matriarchy has criminalized private illumination. You realize the terrifying implication. A personal flashlight, a glowworm in a jar, or a secret cutting of a vine hidden in a closet is not just contraband. It is blasphemy. The text of the Codex Luminous argues that hidden light breeds hidden thoughts. By forcing all illumination to be public and communal, the state ensures that there are no dark corners where conspiracy can take root. It reminds you of the salt taxes of ancient empires, where a common resource was artificially restricted to ensure the populace remained tethered to the sovereign. But here, they have monopolized the very physics of vision. The harshness of the penalties for unauthorized gardening makes sense only when you realize how fragile this monopoly truly is. The sun vines are hardy. They want to grow. You see a sprout, fighting its way through a crack in the pavement, glowing defiantly. The contrast of the defiant light in the darkness. A member of the Quartz Guard immediately crushes it under an iron boot, not with anger, but with the rote efficiency of extinguishing a spark. The awe you feel now is colder. It is the realization that the regime is terrified of a weed. They know that if the common people realized they could grow their own sun, the entire theology of dependency would collapse overnight. To understand the cost of this luminosity, you must leave the cool, dry air of the civic plazas and descend into the city's sweltering lungs. You pass through a heavy airlock, and the atmosphere instantly changes. It hits you like a physical wall, a suffocating blanket of humidity, thick with the smell of peat, ozone, and accelerated growth. You have entered the domain of the Verdant Caste. Here, in the vast, spiraling hydro towers that flank the magma vents, the sacred flora is not treated with reverence, but with industrial ruthlessness. The propaganda murals depict the Verdant Caste as serene monks tending to gentle gardens. The reality is far more visceral. You see men and women stripped to their waists, their skin glistening with sweat and condensation, moving with the frantic energy of stokers in a coal engine. But instead of coal, they are shoveling nutrient sludge. The environment is hostile to human comfort, but perfect for the sun vines. The temperature is kept at a tropical fever pitch to maximize the enzymatic reactions that produce the glow. You feel the moisture clinging to your clothes, weighing you down, making every breath a conscious effort. It is a grueling existence, yet you witness a moment of profound, organic awe. A team of workers hoists a massive mother root from a nutrient tank, and for a second, the sheer biological power of the thing silences the room. It pulses with a blinding, white-hot radiance, a raw star captured in vegetative flesh. But the workers do not pause to admire it. They cannot. They are slaves to the metabolic cycle of the city. This caste embodies the ultimate alienation of labor. They spend their lives cultivating the light that illuminates the upper districts, yet they live in the most visually chaotic sector of Alba-Kar. The lighting here is not the soothing azure of the plazas. It is harsh, strobe-like grow lights designed for photosynthesis, not human vision. Or, worse, it is pitch black during the forced dormancy cycles of the plants. You notice the physical toll this takes. The verdant workers often suffer from photonic bleach, a condition where the eyes, constantly exposed to the intense glare of the raw vines, lose the ability to perceive subtle shades of color. They are the blind painters of the city's masterpiece. There is a cruel irony in their segregation. The Matriarchy forbids the Verdant Caste from entering the high plazas to prevent contamination of the delicate moss ecosystems. The very people who create the stars are forbidden from ever seeing the sky they built. You watch a young woman carefully pruning a delicate tendril, her hands scarred by the acidic sap. She treats the plant with a tenderness she likely has never received from the state. It is a relationship defined by a terrifying intimacy. She bleeds so the vine can glow, and in return, the vine ensures the city doesn't go dark. In this humid hellscape, you realize that the light of Alba-Kar isn't powered by magic or divinity. It is powered by the sweat of a caste, hidden behind the very brightness they create. From the humid agony of the hydro towers, you follow the thick, iron arteries that pump the lifeblood of the city outward. These are the fosse lines, carrying the nutrient-rich slurry required to keep the ghost moss alive. And as you trace their path through the city's underbelly, you discover the true mechanism of the Matriarchy's power. It isn't the sword, it is the valve. The supply chain of visibility is terrifyingly precise. The bioluminescent flora of Alba-Kar has been genetically engineered to have a hyper-accelerated metabolic rate. Without a constant, hourly injection of the proprietary luciferin substrate, the plants don't just stop growing, they go dark within minutes. This biological dependency turns the entire lighting grid into a dead man's switch. You realize with a chill that the Matriarchy doesn't need to station a guard on every corner to maintain order.
Hold the line. No one enters. No one fires.
They simply need to control the flow. You witness this weaponization firsthand in a district known as the Slag Drift, a poorer industrial sector that recently failed to meet its ore refining quota.
No one enters. No one fires.
There are no beatings. There are no public executions.
Hold the line.
Instead,
no one enters.
the quartz guard simply turns a wheel on the main distribution manifold. The effect is psychological torture refined to an art form. The citizens call it the gray fade. It doesn't happen instantly. First, the azure sky moss above turns a sickly, bruised violet. Then, the amber pulses of the street vine slow to an arrhythmic crawl. You watch the people in the market stop their bartering. A collective silence falls, heavier than the stone itself. They know what is coming. In a surface city, a power outage is an inconvenience. Here, deep in the crust, darkness is a primordial predator. As the lumens drop, the edges of the cavern seem to rush inward. The architecture disappears. The faces of loved ones dissolve into shadow. You feel a primal, animalistic panic rising in your own chest, an ancient fear of the cave that no amount of civilization can suppress. The Matriarchy plays on this fear like a virtuoso. They rarely let a district go pitch black. That would cause chaos. Instead, they dim the lights just enough to induce a permanent state of low-level anxiety, a twilight of obedience. It turns every citizen into a self-policing enforcer. You see neighbors yelling at a slacker, not because they care about the ore quota, but because they are terrified of the dark. This is the genius of weaponizing visibility. It transforms the basic ability to navigate one's world into a performance bonus. You stand in the dimming street, watching a father clutch his child's hand as the light fades to a dull ember. and you realize the horrifying truth. In Alba-Kar, the government doesn't just own the ground you walk on, they own the eyes you use to see it. Sight itself has become the ultimate leverage, ensuring that the population works not just for food or shelter, but for the privilege of not being swallowed by the abyss. To find the cracks in this monopoly of light, you must look past the glowing leaves and into the very cells that compose them. You find yourself in the Forgotten Arboretum, a sealed-off section of the university district where the air is stale and smells of dry rot. Here, amidst the crumbling remains of pre-descent equipment, a rogue botanist named Kalen has set up a makeshift laboratory. He invites you to look through the eyepiece of an ancient, salvaged microscope. On the slide is a sliver of the sacred sunvine tissue. The Matriarchy's doctrine teaches that these plants are tears of the mother, unique life forms birthed by the planet's core to comfort her children in the dark. It is a beautiful, poetic origin story, but as you adjust the focus, the poetry dissolves into hard, genetic reality. You are looking at the undeniable structure of a modified helianthus, a common surface sunflower. The revelation hits you with the precision of a scalpel. These are not alien organisms. They are refugees. Kalen points out the anomalies. The chloroplasts have been artificially expanded to capture bioluminescence, and fungal genes have been spliced in to create the glow. But underneath these modifications, the chassis is undeniably terrestrial. You see the vestigial structures designed to process ultraviolet radiation that does not exist underground. You see the cellular machinery built to manage evaporation in a windy environment, useless in the stagnant humidity of the caves. You feel a profound, melancholy awe at this discovery. These plants are carrying the genetic memory of a sky they haven't seen in 400 years. They are living fossils of the Scorched World. But the most damning evidence lies in their behavior. Kalen dims the lab lights and points to a young vine in a pot. "Watch," he whispers. "It doesn't know where it is." You observe the plant for an hour. It doesn't just glow, it moves. It slowly twists its leaves, tracking an invisible arc across the ceiling. It is performing heliotropism, the act of following the sun. The vine is trying to orient itself to a light source that no longer exists, following the ghost of a solar trajectory hardwired into its DNA. This botanical fact shatters the Matriarchy's entire historical narrative. If the surface was truly a radioactive hellscape as they claim, these plants would not share such a direct lineage with surface flora. They would not still be trying to find the sun. The existence of the sunvine proves that the founders didn't just find a safe haven. They brought the seeds of the old world down with them and mutilated them to fit the dark. It transforms the sacred flora from a divine gift into a tragic captive. You realize that the plants are just like the citizens of Alba-Kar, twisted by the dark, dependent on the system for survival, but secretly, instinctively, yearning for a light that they have been told is deadly. The Matriarchy hasn't just lied about history. They have lied about biology, rewriting the definition of nature, to hide the fact that the surface was once a garden, not a grave. From the biological manipulation of the vine, your investigation shifts to the psychological manipulation of the human mind. You leave Kalen's lab and step back into the main thoroughfare of the Radial district. Checking your chronometer, you realize it should be high noon. Yet, looking up, the ghost moss canopy is not blazing with white intensity. It remains a soft, soothing azure, while the street-level sun vines hum with their eternal, warm amber. You realize with a jarring clarity that it is always evening in Alba-Kar. The founders, in their terrifying wisdom, did not just ban the sun, they banned the very concept of noon. They understood a fundamental truth of human psychology. Bright, blue spectrum light triggers alertness, agitation, and critical thinking. It is the light of the hunter, the builder, the revolutionary. It casts sharp shadows that define the world in binary terms of black and white. To maintain a society trapped in stone, the founders needed to suppress this biological urge for clarity. They synthesized a permanent twilight state. You feel the effects of this lighting design in your own body. It is a subtle, heavy lethargy that settles behind your eyes, a chemical leash pulling you toward compliance. This is not accidental. The specific spectrum emitted by the modified flora is designed to manipulate your circadian rhythms, keeping the population in a constant state of low-level melatonin production. The citizens of Alba-Kar are never fully awake, but never fully asleep. They exist in a hypnagogic haze, a dreamlike state where the sharp edges of reality are softened and the will to rebel is dulled by a physiological need to rest. It is a masterpiece of benevolent cruelty. You feel a strange, horrified awe at the elegance of the trap. They haven't used drugs or surgery. They have used color temperature. By keeping the city in a perpetual golden hour, they trigger the primitive hearth instinct. Think about how you feel sitting around a campfire or in a dimly lit living room. You feel safe. You feel communal. You feel like the day's work is done, and it is time to tell stories and sleep. The Matriarchy has expanded this feeling to the scale of a civilization. The amber glow of the sun vines tricks the lizard brain into believing that the danger is outside in the dark and safety is here, in the warm circle of the light. This synthetic twilight creates a false intimacy. Strangers in the street feel like family because they are all huddled around the same fire. It suppresses the individuality that thrives in the harsh light of day. And promotes a collective, drowsy obedience. You look at the faces of the people around you, soft, relaxed, uncritical. They are not waiting for a sunrise that will signal the start of a new day. They are waiting for a permission to sleep that never fully comes. The founders didn't just bury the city, they tucked it in, whispering a bedtime story that has lasted for 400 years, ensuring that the children of Alba-Kar never wake up enough to realize the nightmare they are living in. But a sleep induced by lies cannot last forever. Eventually, the biological imperative to wake up overpowers the chemical leash of the twilight. And in Alba-Kar, the alarm clock didn't ring, it bloomed. You witnessed the birth of the resistance, not in a war room, but in the neglected crevices of the slag drift. Here, where the official fosse lines run dry and the shadows are deep enough to hide a secret, you find the wilders. They are not soldiers. They are guerrilla gardeners. You watch a young wilder, her face obscured by a filtration scarf, moving quickly through a decommissioned tunnel. She isn't carrying a bomb. She is carrying a pouch of feral spores, illegal, unrefined seeds stolen from the waste chutes of the hydro towers. With a quick smear of nutrient paste on a damp wall, she presses the spores into the stone. It is a quiet, frantic act of vandalism. But in a world of enforced order, chaos is a revolutionary weapon. Days later, you return to see the result. It is breathtaking. Unlike the polite, amber pulse of the state-sanctioned sun vines, this wild growth is aggressive and discordant. It glows in colors the Matriarchy has banned: harsh neon violets, acidic greens, and blinding, sterile whites. It is a riot of unauthorized biology. The psychological impact of these wilding zones is immediate. The stark, white light of a feral moss patch cuts through the soothing amber twilight like a knife. It disrupts the circadian suppression. Standing in its glow, you feel a sudden, jarring spike of adrenaline. The fog in your mind lifts. You see the cracks in the pavement, the rust on the pipes, the tiredness in your neighbor's eyes, details that the soft, golden light was designed to hide. The Matriarchy's response is disproportionate and panicked.
I can't see anything.
You see Quartz guard patrols, wielding flamethrowers, burning the unauthorized moss off the walls with a ferocity usually reserved for armed insurrection. But they are fighting a losing battle. You feel a surge of grim, triumphant awe as you realize the futility of arresting a spore. The wind from the ventilation shafts carries the seeds further than the guard can march. For every patch they burn, 3 more bloom in the upper districts. This is the true legacy of the rebellion in Alba-Kar. It wasn't won by seizing the throne. It was won by seizing the light switch. The Wilders proved that the environment itself could be reclaimed. By planting these seeds, they declared that they would no longer wait for the state to grant them vision. They would grow their own suns, however small, however messy. The wilding transformed the city from a manicured cage into a living, breathing ecosystem of defiance. It broke the monopoly on reality. You look at a single, defiant white flower pushing up through the basalt, casting a sharp, defiant shadow against the perfect order of the state. And you understand the core truth of this revolution. To be free is to choose what illuminates your world. The story of the sun vines leaves us with a lingering, vibrant afterimage. A reminder that the most effective control is often the one disguised as comfort. The Matriarchy didn't enslave Alba-Kar with chains. They enslaved it with a warm, golden blanket of dependency. They turned the basic need for light into a debt that could never be repaid. As you navigate your own world, where algorithms curate what you see, and narratives are often filtered through a specific color temperature, remember the Wilders. Remember that the truth is often harsh, bright, and unflattering, while the lie is soft and easy on the eyes. The courage to plant your own garden, to seek out the light that wakes you up, rather than the light that puts you to sleep, is the first step in claiming your own reality. Thank you for walking the glowing tunnels with me. Until we meet again in the archives, keep your eyes open and never be afraid to let a little wildness bloom in the dark.